Rich Dads Increase Your Financial IQ. Get Smarter with Your Money by Robert T. Kiyosaki. Picture this. A brilliant man lies in his hospital bed, his life slipping away. He was a Ph.D., the head of education for an entire state, who spent decades shaping young minds. A wonderful father. A genuinely good person. But as he pulls his son close in those final moments, tears streaming down his face, he does something unexpected. He apologizes. He's sorry for not leaving much behind. Despite all his achievements and relentless hard work, one problem haunted him his entire life: money. He never cracked the code. And now, at the end, he feels like he failed. This was Robert T. Kiyosaki's father, his poor dad. This gut-wrenching moment is the beating heart of one of the most transformative financial books ever written, Increase Your Financial IQ. This isn't just a follow-up to Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the legendary book that sold over 28 million copies and rewired how millions think about money. This is the instruction manual. It answers the haunting question that story leaves us with. If someone so smart and hardworking can struggle financially, what chance do the rest of us have? Kiyosaki's answer is both simple and revolutionary. It's not your job that creates wealth, not how many hours you grind, not even the money itself. It's your financial intelligence. Over the next several minutes, I'm going to walk you through the 5 essential financial IQs that Kiyosaki learned from his street-smart rich dad, not his highly educated poor dad. This isn't about penny pinching or spreading your investments thin. Actually, you'll discover why that advice might be holding you back. This is about solving the one problem that cripples countless lives. By the time we're done, you won't just think about money differently. You'll realize your greatest asset isn't in your bank account. It's sitting right between your ears. And I'll give you the framework to make it infinitely more powerful. Let's kick things off with a deceptively simple question. Does having money make you rich? Surprisingly, the answer is no. We've all heard the stories. The lottery winner who's broke within 5 years. The young athlete with $100 million contract who files for bankruptcy. MC Hammer, going from a mansion and a fleet of luxury cars to losing it all in what seemed like a heartbeat. These people had money, mountains of it, but it didn't make them rich. Often, it just magnified their financial disasters. Here's the first big lesson from Kiyosaki's Rich Dad. Everyone has money problems. Poor people struggle with not having enough. But rich people? They face the challenge of having too much to manage, protect, and invest wisely. So if you're going to have a money problem either way, which would you prefer? Most people spend their entire lives trying to solve not enough money in all the wrong ways. They think a better job will fix it, or a raise, or working harder. But as Kiyosaki witnessed with his own father, a bigger paycheck often just means a more expensive lifestyle and deeper debt. Education doesn't solve it either. The world is packed with highly educated people who are financially struggling. So what actually solves money problems? Financial intelligence. Kiyosaki's Rich Dad taught him that money problems are like a gym workout for your brain. Avoid them, and you stay weak. Use credit cards to pretend they don't exist, and they grow stronger. Like a weed, you only trim at the surface. But face a money problem head-on and solve it. Your financial intelligence grows. You get sharper. And once you're sharper, you can tackle bigger challenges. Solving bigger challenges is what creates wealth. Poor and middle-class people see a money problem as just that, a problem, a source of stress and anxiety. Rich people see it as an opportunity to learn, grow, and become more capable. That's the fundamental difference. But to spot these opportunities, you first need to understand the game you're playing. And Kiyosaki warns us that the rules changed dramatically, twice, in the 1970s. Most people are still playing by an outdated rulebook. The first seismic shift happened in 1971. President Nixon pulled the U.S. dollar off the gold standard. In that instant, the dollar stopped being real money and became a currency. Think about that word, currency. Like an electrical current or ocean current, it has to keep flowing. When it stops, it loses value. Before 1971, saving money was smart because your dollars were backed by gold. After 1971, saving money became what Kiyosaki calls financial insanity. Why? Because the government could now print unlimited currency, and with every new bill printed, the ones in your savings account became worth a little less. Savers became losers. Debtors, believe it or not, became winners. It became smarter to borrow money and pay it back later with cheaper, less valuable dollars. A whole new form of capitalism was born. The second shakeup came in 1974 when businesses started phasing out guaranteed pensions, those promises of a paycheck for life. Suddenly, retirement planning shifted from the company to you. You were now responsible for investing your own future through plans like the 401k. The problem? Schools never got the memo. They never started teaching you how to invest. It was like being shoved into a stormy ocean in a boat with no rudder and no map. These two changes created the perfect storm. People were now responsible for their own financial future, using a currency constantly losing value, with zero financial education to guide them. This is the world we're living in. And this is why developing your financial IQ isn't just for people who want to be wealthy. It's essential for anyone who wants to survive. So what exactly is financial IQ? Kiyosaki breaks it into 5 core intelligences. Mastering these is your true path to wealth. First up is financial IQ 1, making more money. This seems obvious. Someone earning $1 million a year has a higher financial IQ 1 than someone making $30,000. But it's not just about the amount. It's about how you make it, and, more importantly, what you're willing to endure to learn. Kiyosaki's own story perfectly illustrates this. After graduating from a prestigious academy and serving as a pilot in Vietnam, he had 2 impressive job offers. He could return as a ship's officer for Standard Oil, earning the modern equivalent of $140,000 a year, or become an airline pilot for a very comfortable salary. Instead, he took a sales job at Xerox in Honolulu for just $720 a month. His family thought he'd lost his mind. He took a massive pay cut. Why? Because he wasn't chasing the money, he was chasing the education. Robert knew he wanted to be an entrepreneur, but he was painfully shy and terrified of rejection. 2 death sentences for any business owner. Xerox had one of the world's best sales training programs. He chose the most difficult path, the one with the smallest immediate paycheck, because it offered the greatest long-term education. He chose the process over the paycheck. For the first 2 years, he was terrible, nearly fired multiple times, but he refused to quit. His rich dad's advice kept echoing. You can quit when you win, but never quit because you're losing. Eventually, the training clicked. He faced his fears, learned to sell, and became his branch's #1 salesperson. Only then, once he'd won, did he quit. He had solved the problem of shyness and rejection, dramatically increasing his ability to make money. He then launched his first real business, making nylon and Velcro surfer wallets. It exploded, making him a millionaire. Then, just as quickly, it collapsed, leaving him nearly $1 million in debt. Again, he wanted to quit, to run away, to declare bankruptcy. But his rich dad encouraged him to stay and clean up the mess. Solving this problem, he said, will be the best education you could ever ask for. And he was right. Rebuilding that business from the wreckage taught him about manufacturing, licensing, international business, and protecting intellectual property. It was his real-world MBA. This is the secret to making more money. It's not about landing a high-paying job. It's about choosing a path of learning, facing the problems that pop up, and developing the skills and emotional strength to solve them. The money isn't the goal. It's the byproduct of the process. It's the score you get for becoming smarter and more capable. But making money is only step 1. What's the point if you can't keep it? This brings us to financial IQ 2, protecting your money. Kiyosaki's rich dad taught him a simple but powerful lesson Using a farmer analogy, a farmer has to protect his crops from bunnies, birds, and bugs. They might look cute and harmless, but they're thieves. In the financial world, the predators are just as real, but they're often people and organizations we trust. Rich Dad called them the 7 Bs. The first B is bureaucrats, the government. Taxes are our single biggest expense. Bureaucrats are experts at spending money, not making it, so they're constantly inventing new ways to take yours. A financially intelligent person understands the tax code isn't written to be fair. It's written with loopholes for the rich. The key is working for the right kind of income. Earned income from a job is the most heavily taxed. Passive income from real estate and portfolio income from paper assets are taxed much lower. The rich don't work for paychecks. They build assets that produce passive and portfolio income. They legally pay far less in taxes than their employees. The second B is bankers. We trust them to protect our money, but often they're just taking it legally. Kiyosaki points to hidden fees in 401k plans and mutual funds, costs so complex that even the employers offering them can't understand them. Plus, banks use your savings to get rich. They pay you a tiny percentage on your deposits, then lend out that same money multiple times over at much higher interest rates. In the new economy, the bank isn't the best place to park your wealth. The third B is brokers. Most financial advice comes from salespeople, not actually wealthy people. As Warren Buffett famously said, Wall Street is the only place people ride to in a Rolls-Royce to get advice from those who take the subway. A good broker should be an educator and investor themselves, someone who helps make you richer. A bad broker just makes excuses while collecting commissions. The other predators are just as close to home. Businesses that sell you liabilities on high-interest credit cards. Brides and beaux who marry for money, which is why a prenuptial agreement shows high financial IQ. Brothers-in-law and other relatives who can appear after you die if you don't have proper estate planning. And finally, barristers' lawyers who exist to sue people with deep pockets. Protecting your money means understanding who these predators are and structuring your finances, using corporations, trusts, and insurance to keep your wealth safe. It's not about greed. It's about recognizing you worked hard for your money, and there are a lot of hands trying to reach into your pockets. Once you're making and protecting money, you need a plan. This is Financial IQ 3, budgeting your money. But not the kind of budgeting most people think of. Kiyosaki's poor dad always said, live below your means. His rich dad said, if you're going to be rich, you need to expand your means. Living below your means is defensive and fear-based. It shrinks your world. Expanding your means is offensive and growth-oriented. It forces you to become more creative and capable. The cornerstone of a rich person's budget is one simple, powerful rule: pay yourself first. And this isn't a metaphor. Rich Dad taught Kiyosaki to treat savings and investments as his most important expense. Here's how it works. Most people get their paycheck, pay all their bills, mortgage, car payment, credit cards, and then, if there's anything left, they save it. They pay themselves last. Of course, there's rarely anything left. A rich person's budget flips this completely. The first bill they pay goes to their asset column. They allocate a percentage of their income, say 30%, to savings, investments, and charitable giving before paying any other bills. When Kiyosaki and his wife Kim first tried this, it was terrifying. After paying themselves first, they didn't have enough left for all their bills. Their bookkeeper Betty was horrified. "You can't do this," she said. "Your creditors will scream." And that was exactly the point. Instead of letting creditor pressure make them raid their savings, they used that pressure as motivation. It forced them to find ways to make more money, to increase their financial IQ 1. The pressure from the unpaid bills became fuel to expand their means. Another crucial budgeting principle from Rich Dad: your assets should pay for your liabilities. Poor Dad would say, "We can't afford it." Rich Dad would ask, "How can I afford it?" If he wanted a new luxury car, he wouldn't just buy it. He'd first buy an asset, like a rental property, that produced enough monthly cash flow to cover the car payment. The asset paid for the luxury. This way, every time he wanted a new toy, he got richer because he had to acquire a new income-producing asset first. This is the power of a budget surplus. It's not about cutting back and being frugal. It's a strategic plan to force yourself to grow. Now we get to the part that truly separates the rich from everyone else. Financial IQ 4. Leveraging your money. Simply put, leverage is the ability to do more with less. The most common form is using other people's money, usually from a bank. This is where most financial advisors get nervous. They'll tell you leverage is risky, and that higher returns always mean higher risk. Kiyosaki says this is completely false. Leverage is only risky if you don't have the one thing that matters most: control. When you invest in a mutual fund or stock, you have zero control. You can't influence the CEO's decisions. You can't cut the company's expenses. You can't boost its sales. Without control, using leverage is like driving a car with no steering wheel. That's incredibly risky. But with assets like a business or certain types of real estate, you can have control. Kiyosaki gives the example of a 300-unit apartment building he bought for $17 million. He only put down 20%, so the bank provided the other 80%. His leverage was 1-to-4. For every dollar of his, the bank put in 4. Is this risky? Not when he has control. He isn't gambling on the market going up. The property's value isn't based on an appraiser's opinion. It's based on the income it generates, and he can control that income. He has a plan to raise rent on each unit by $100 a month over 3 years through simple improvements, like adding washers and dryers. That's an extra $360,000 annually. He can also cut expenses through better management. By increasing income and decreasing expenses, he's forcing the asset's value up, regardless of overall market conditions. He has control. Because he has control, he can use the bank's money to achieve returns impossible for average investors. He explains how he can eventually refinance the property, pull out all his original investment money tax-free, and still own the property. At that point, the monthly cash flow he receives is an infinite return. He has no money in the deal, yet he's still getting paid. This is ultimate leverage. This is what financial intelligence makes possible. You can't do this with a 401k. You can't achieve infinite returns by just saving money in a bank. It requires understanding how to use control to manage risk, then using debt, good debt, as a tool to amplify your returns. But how do you learn all this? How do you know which deals are good, which information is reliable, and which trends to follow? That brings us to the final and most important intelligence. Financial IQ 5. Improving your financial information. We live in the information age, but the real problem is information overload. How do you sort the valuable from the worthless, the facts from the opinions? Kiyosaki learned his most valuable lessons about information not in a classroom, but as a helicopter pilot and intelligence officer in Vietnam. There, information wasn't about passing a test. It was life or death. He learned to classify information based on its timeliness, credibility, and source. One of the biggest mistakes investors make is failing to distinguish between facts and opinions. This stock is going to go up is an opinion. This rental property generates $500 a month in positive cash flow after all expenses is a fact. Most average investors, especially those investing for capital gains hoping the price will rise, are investing based on opinions. They're gambling. Professional investors invest based on facts, like cash flow, while using opinions to analyze future trends. Another key is understanding the importance of being an insider. This doesn't mean illegal insider trading. It means getting as close to the asset as possible. When you own your own business or rental property, you're the ultimate insider. You have all the information. When you buy a mutual fund, you're the ultimate outsider. By the time you read about a company in the newspaper, the insiders have already made their moves. Finally, Kiyosaki emphasizes the power of understanding trends. He tells a story about trying to buy gold behind enemy lines in Vietnam. He thought desperate miners would sell cheap. He was wrong. A tiny, uneducated old woman wouldn't budge on price. She knew the global price of gold. And she knew that with the war escalating, the trend was on her side. Currencies were failing, and people were fleeing to gold safety. She was more financially intelligent than he was. That day he learned it's not the asset that makes you rich, it's the information about the asset. Putting it all together, Kiyosaki's 5 financial IQs form a system. You learn to make more money not just for a paycheck but through solving problems. You structure your life to protect that money from predators. You create a budget that forces you to expand your means and acquire assets. You use control and leverage to make your money work harder than you ever could. And you do it all by constantly improving the quality of your financial information. When all 5 intelligences work together, you achieve what Kiyosaki calls financial integrity, a state of wholeness where your financial life is sound, complete, and resilient. To achieve this integrity, you have to develop what he calls your financial genius. This isn't about being a math whiz or straight-A student. It's about getting all 3 parts of your brain, the logical left brain, the creative right brain, and the powerful emotional subconscious brain, to work together. Most people fail financially because their subconscious brain, driven by fear taught in school and at home, sabotages their logical plans. Their left brain knows they should invest, but their subconscious brain screams, "It's too risky. What if you fail?" Developing your financial genius means learning to control that fear, to use it as fuel, and to find an environment, the right friends, mentors, and challenges that nurtures your growth instead of rewarding your desire to play it safe. Because in the end, courage is more important than good grades. And in the new world of money, winners aren't the ones who avoid mistakes. They're the ones who learn from them. As we step back and look at the landscape Robert Kiyosaki has painted in Increase Your Financial IQ, what's the one lesson that truly stands out? For me, it isn't a specific investment technique or tax loophole. It's a fundamental shift in mindset. It's the idea that a money problem isn't a roadblock. It's a resource. Think about that for a moment. Every financial struggle you've ever had, the bill you couldn't pay, the debt that felt crushing, the job you felt trapped in, wasn't a sign of failure. It was an assignment from the University of Life, designed to make you smarter. Most of us, when faced with that assignment, either try to ignore it or look for the easy way out. Kiyosaki teaches us the only way to graduate to the next level of wealth is to solve it. This philosophy transforms fear into curiosity and helplessness into empowerment. It reframes your entire financial journey from a struggle for survival into an adventure in learning. This is why this book is so critical, especially today. We live in a world of immense financial uncertainty. The old promises of job security and comfortable retirement have evaporated. Kiyosaki's work doesn't just give you new rules for a new game. It gives you the mental and emotional tools to thrive no matter how the game changes. It teaches you to become adaptable, resourceful, and resilient. So how can you begin this journey today? It doesn't start with investing $1 million. It starts with a few simple, practical actions. First, create your own personal financial statement. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just grab a piece of paper and draw the 4 quadrants: income, expenses, assets, and liabilities. Fill it out honestly. This is your financial report card. It gives you the feedback you need to see where you are right now. For the first time, you'll see the facts, not just the feelings, of your financial life. Second, start paying yourself first, even if it feels impossibly small. Take just 1% of your next paycheck and move it into a separate account for investing before you pay any bills. It's not about the amount. It's about building the habit and discipline. It's about teaching your brain that your financial future is your #1 priority. Third, consciously change your environment. You don't have to quit your job tomorrow. Just find one new source of positive financial education. Join one of the free cash flow clubs Kiyosaki mentions. Read another book on investing. Find a podcast hosted by a successful entrepreneur. Spend 1 hour a week surrounding yourself with the ideas and language of people who are playing the game of money to win. let their mindset start to influence your own. That was a summary of Increase Your Financial IQ by Robert T. Kiyosaki. We've journeyed through the core ideas today, but I'll be honest with you, a summary can only ever be a map. The real treasure is found when you walk the path yourself. The true power of this book emerges in the quiet moments of reading, when a story connects with your own life, or a simple phrase unlocks a new way of thinking. This summary is your guide to decide if this journey is for you. If anything we've talked about has sparked a fire in you, I urge you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning. It's an experience that can fundamentally change how you see your own potential. Also, if you found this summary valuable and want to continue exploring the ideas that shape the world's most successful people, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It lets me know we're on the right track and ensures you won't miss our next deep dive into another life-changing book. Let's keep growing and getting smarter together.